Hi, this is Ryan and Alex with Dillon Precision and here with Butch Wilcox from Butch's Brass to go over how and why he uses Dillon Precision presses. We brought Alex by because we really value at Dillon, obviously, the feedback from our customers. Since Butch has really perfected the use of these machines at such a high level, we wanted to bring Alex by so we can go ahead and get some of the little gadgets and things that make the presses run just a little bit smoother, so that we can maybe either start to manufacture them ourselves or as we're looking to go forward into next version of machine to include that.
My deal is, guys will come in and say, well, how good is the brass? I'll say, okay, that's a no-go, and that's a go. Go, no-go. There's a thousandths difference. Then you take the 223 die, there you are. And that looks like a new piece of brass.
Yeah, and possibly better.
Yeah, exactly.
He showed us his tricks to get it clean and avoid dry spots.
Yeah.
So what made you decide to choose Dillon for all of this?
Well, I use Dillon presses for a couple of reasons. Number one, everything that Dillon's ever made that I have used has turned out to be top-notch. It lasts for a very, very, very long time. The support at Dillon is beyond nothing. I mean, they support their products to the nth degree. If you maintain the machine, you can do millions and millions and millions of rounds with these machines. They just don't wear out.
Have you had any major issues where you needed to warranty them, or were they just a cause for them an upgrade?
I mean, as far as parts breaking on it, stuff just doesn't break.
So almost 3 million rounds of automation on machines and no major structural failures.
No structure failures at all. There's not a finer processor in the world than a CP2000 with a DA3000 auto grind. It'll trim it, multiple stations for sizing it, swaging it on either side of the press, final die. Plus, if you ever get a problem, like here's a 223 case with a ringer, okay? So normally, if you're running this through, a lot of these will get out of your shop and get to the customer. It's not a good sight when he's loading and all of a sudden he's got a great big powder spill. Every piece of brass that's leaving here on this machine, I know the primer's clear. Shell plates will wear out depending on which ones you use. This one's a FW arm shell plate. They'll wear out in 150, 200,000 rounds.
What do you think the stock ones go?
They feed perfect for hand cranking. Absolutely nothing wrong with a stock plate if you got it on a hand crank machine. If you're auto driving, the FW arms has put much more thought into getting the case on and getting the case off right here, and they just work better. So almost immediately going to auto drive, I changed all my shell plates. Every 100,000 rounds, I take the crank out, I take the main shaft out, I clean the crank bearings, I clean the shaft, everything, and I put it back together. It takes maybe an hour and a half. You can completely disassemble the press and put it back together clean and loop. I've had a lot of trouble with the pad. I've had to replace the pad 3 times now. But the absolute secret to producing really, really nice brass is the roll sizer first. And that is that, I use a stock Dillon case feed. And the Dillon case feed keeps up with it. I've got all the dies for all the other calibers I do. I also use what's called the holy moly on here, which you take your case pusher out, and I use his case pushers. This is set up for 223, and you put this housing on, and then it has a center rod here, so that the pushing of the case pusher is taking place here, and you don't end up with bent shoulder bolts. The stock Dillon that has that round circle bushing, that will bend. Here's what you use. You use that right there. And what happens is it constantly comes down and bends this bolt. Okay, so I have a bearing right here and a bushing here. By having this supported here and here, it eliminates the bent, well,
Yeah, that double shear support and
Yep.
having it actually like roll more freely rather than just having it.
yep, that's a huge option. But in my opinion, this press with this primer pickup, the sorter, finest press in the world. Absolute, I totally love it. If I had to change only one thing at the factory, it would be to have an adjustable clutch.
How do you like this interface versus the touchscreen if we were to go forwards?
A lot of guys don't like this. It doesn't bother me. You can do this. It's a little easier, but this works just fine. And there's guys loading with 1100s that these things load beautifully. Everything this will do, but this is just probably a little easier. But let's just say that they've had tablet problems at Mark 7. They know it. They're trying to address it.
So you'd almost prefer the reliability
This
in the
thing,
long run.
this thing doesn't break down.
Yeah, it would just be helpful if you could access like multiple settings concurrently
Yeah.
like that.
There's the press operating at about 1,840 rounds a minute. So let's take the same thing and let's go here. Let's put a top dwell in it, put a new value of top dwell in it, and then we'll come down here to the bottom delay. See, now it's doing the dwell. And if you're loading, it's not a big deal. So you set this up and you do your whole batch of loading, and then you take it back to 0. Is this faster? Yeah. I got a hunch that this might be a little more reliable. These tablets, they've had issues.
What are the issues that come up in it?
You turn them on, you get a blue screen, or you'll be running along, all of a sudden it just stops. So if you got one of these, what you do up there is you buy a couple of spare. As a processor, if I'm here and I got a barrel of brass I'm doing today, I'm not letting a $200 tablet stop me from finishing my barrel of brass.
Has this ever failed on you?
Never, never once. The only thing I've ever had to do to this box is they didn't have the primer sorter, and when I put the primer sorter on, I had to get the program rewrote, so I just took it over there, they rewrote the program, put it in there, and it's good.